time for part 3 of my testing clear polyurethane resin. Now, I am getting through this rather fast and it's not cheap stuff, but I'm doing this in the hope that it'll save you testing it and experimenting and wasting yours. So here we go, because these pieces I'm not going to be able to do anything with much afterwards, I don't think. Anyway, what I've been asked this time is, can you layer it and how deep can you pour it, and then can you use it for coating on top of other resins, so epoxy largely. So first of all, let's get this in and we'll test a first layer. This is just a cheap mould that's nice and deep. I thought we'd use this. So I'll put a layer in. We'll go to about there, which is way more than this is supposed to take depth wise, and it's quite chunky. So that might use all I've got, so we might have to wait till I get some more. I don't know. And then I'm going to chuck some in a little coaster, I think. We'll chuck some epoxy resin in there rather, because we want to see, will this stuff stick to epoxy, so we can use it as a top coat. One thing I will say about using it as a top coat is that it is not very viscous. It's quite runny, so I don't think it'll dome, but whether it'll stick or not is a whole different matter. We know that UV resin sticks to the surface of a well cured epoxy. Let's see if this does. Right, just chucking my part A and part B in. It's not quite a 1-to-1, so be aware you need slightly more of one than you do of the other. The part B you need a smidge more of. So they're both in there. Now I'm going to fill this up. For the second layer I'm going to chuck a bit of mica powder in it so we can see whether, oh, or do I? Let's see if we can get a clear join. That's something I can never achieve with epoxy. You can always see where the join is. So actually no, I'm not going to put any mica powder in. Okay, stirring frantically. You know you're going to move fast with this stuff. Now that should produce quite a depth. I could just let it cure in the pot, but I'm not going to. Pouring it in. How deep's that? God. Wish I could have found a smaller deep one to test it with. Right, I'm going to put as much in again. So, let's do this. This is awfully wasteful. I'm doing this so you don't have to. I will have to order some more on payday. People have been asking about the cost of this stuff. I did put the link for you in the description so you can have a look. I know it's not available worldwide necessarily, but the eBay link that I got this from, was it about 25, 26 quid for these two little bottles? That's 400 grams. There is an economy of scale, obviously. If you find you're going to use a lot of it, you buy bigger bottles, but I just wanted to test these small ones. And obviously once Just For You online have got this in stock, I can really get stuck in and do some serious testing, as I'll be requesting some from them to demo for you. But I thought we'd get at this point all the main questions out of the way. People have also asked, could I do the big dragon with the clear? I don't plan to, because I've only got this much at the moment. Maybe once I get a better supply in the new year I'll be able to do that. But usually I back those with black anyway, because of bringing out the colours in the pigment flakes, pearls, whatever what am I looking for? Ah, chameleon flakes and chameleon powders. That's what I usually colour them with, isn't it? So I usually back it with black. Right, let's see what happens. That is way more than they say it's recommended for. But yeah, I might do a dragon anyway once I've got a better supply of it. Yeah, a bigger supply, because it would be interesting to see what that comes out like. But let's face it, if this works, it'll do the dragon. Yes, the dragon is a bit deeper than this, but what are we up to here? That's well over an inch. I'll measure it in a minute. I am going to try torching the surface, like we would normally do, to get any bubbles out. I'm going to try it through my airless machine and all sorts at some point. But let's get the common questions out of the way first, because not everybody's got a vacuum chamber. Okay, so that works. So we know we can use a torch. What about alcohol? There's a few more bubbles coming up. Yep, that works. We'll see if it inhibits the curing at all. So far so good. Right, I'll measure this for you. At the moment it is 1 1/8, that's a nice round number, 1 1/8 inches high, deep, which is in centimetres 3. So that is double what it's supposed to be recommended for. Let's see what happens. Now, in the meantime, while that's doing its thing over there, I'm going to mix up some epoxy and chuck it in the mould here. And I'm going to mix up some 2-hour epoxy from Just For You online. It's the Apex Quick Cure one, and I'll just show you that. So this is the Apex One Coat. I just checked the name, it's called One Coat. It's really thick, and this resin can cure in 2 hours. Depends on the warmth of your room, of course, and the depth of it and so on, but it can cure in 2 hours. So at least you can demould it in 2 hours. I tend to leave it for 3 or 4 to be on the safe side. I've managed to get it down to an hour and a half, and it's properly cured in my curing machine or with a mat under it. Don't forget, those of you who haven't got a curing machine, heat mats work really well. If you haven't got a heat mat, why not just put something like you know, a Tupperware tub or a sandwich box or something like that over the top. Make a little lid, it'll keep the heat in, because resin gets hot when it cures anyway. Even just doing that, just covering it over, will prevent dust and bits and things going in it as well, but it'll also keep that warmth in, and it will increase your cure time, reduce your cure time a little bit too. But this, yeah, it's quick stuff. So this is the obvious competitor to this other resin, really, isn't it? This PU resin, because we're talking like for like on speed. Well, not far off. Close. It's the closest you're going to get, other than UV, of course. So I'm stirring this up well. Because it's so viscous, to say, it's really good for top coating, doming as well. That's really what it's intended for, and of course very good for shallow pours like coasters and things. So I mixed it up well, probably filled it with bubbles, knowing me. Because it's so viscous, it takes a little bit longer to degas and it bubbles easier. I could have stuck it through my airless, but I'm not. To be fair, I don't like to put the very quick cure things through my little vacuum chamber, because there's a danger of it flash curing because it cures so quick, you know, which is a pity, because the more viscous ones are where we do tend to get air bubble situations. As you can see, that's absolutely blinking full of bubbles. But let's see how well that debubbles. It's on its way. And yeah, then we'll see, once these have cured, we'll see how this behaves. That's getting hot already. That is quicker than it did last time when I was doing shallower pours, I can tell you that. I'll come back and check on it in half an hour and we'll see what the progress is like. We'll see how this has debubbled. And then we'll start playing about with, once they're cured, can we layer it? Can we top coat that? We'll see if we can get those questions out of the way. The other one I've been asked is, because I when I finished the UV testing on those little clouds that I made in part 1, can I stick them outside in the snow, cold, frost, everything, and just see what happens with horrible British winter weather to it? So I thought that actually that's a useful test. I do get asked a lot if my creations can go outside, and we know that UV resin and epoxy resin isn't good for outside, particularly. It can yellow eventually, no matter how good the resin is. it can crack with the frost. Extremes of temperature aren't good, and when it gets really hot in the summer, it can go all bendy. So let's see how the PU resin compares once I've finished doing the UV testing on it. Alright, I'll see you shortly. Okay, this cured fast and therefore the bubbles are still in there. It got very, very hot, but it didn't explode. You'll see the top surface got a bit disturbed. In the meantime, this cured as well. It took longer. This took about 2.5 hours. That took, you know what, I think it was hard in about 40 minutes because of the depth, but it is full of bubbles. Now, I'm not going to get that out of there because we want to see if we can layer it, don't we? And we'll see how visible the layer is. And then this one, we're going to top coat it. Now, because I didn't fill the mould up completely, we've got that lip that forms. So that's handy. Let's see if it works. Right, let's get my gloves on and we'll have a go. So don't forget everyone, this stuff is evil. We do need our PPE. I'm running out of this. So the experiments with it will be grinding to a halt pretty soon, I'm afraid, until I get paid and then we can get some more. And we can play again. So yes, I'm getting down to the last bit. Which pot were we using? It was this one, wasn't it? Yeah, that's the one. So chucking it in again. That's part B. You'll notice I've marked my little pots so I know which is which, so I can keep reusing them. Now clearly this isn't going to be a very deep layer because I don't want to go too mad and use all this up. So I just want to see if we chuck it on top of this, will it top coat? I'm pretty sure that it won't dome because it's not viscous enough. But can it top coat? So let's put a little bit on there and spread it. Oops, gone over the edges. Doesn't matter, not for this project anyway, does it? Be handy if it will top coat because obviously it's quick. Then again, I know a lot of us use UV resin for that same reason. Heat resistance might be a bit better on this than UV resin though. I'm getting the impression it might be. So, you know, top coating your coasters and stuff. If you really want to top coat coasters well though, can I just suggest you use the 2-hour cure resin? Because that will, the heat resistance on it is crazy high. It's very, very good for coasters. Certainly perfectly good enough for hot cups of tea, that sort of thing. Okay. So we'll see if that works, and in the meantime we'll see if this works layering. And I'm afraid this second layer, as I said, isn't going to be very thick because I don't want to use up too much more of this resin. People have been asking price wise. I did put the link for you so you can have a look. It is ballpark around the same as, really, it's about, you know, there's not a lot in it. You're not going to make any saving by using this instead of epoxy. Really, it's the speed. Because even with this 2-hour one, you know, depending on the warmth of your room, theoretically that can do 2 hours. This is an hour. It's still quicker. Now, if they come out with one that's even faster, that'll be amazing. So, let's see what happens. I'll see you in a bit. Right, I have a verdict for you folks. Yes, you can top coat epoxy resin with it. Look. Now, the surface on it might not be absolutely perfect. But then again, I did spray it with alcohol. Maybe that affected it. But yes, it's adhered to it. No problem. Looks like you can layer it. Let's get this out. Yep, you can layer it. you're going to get a line like you would with epoxy, but that is sealed. So we have some important information here. Yes, you can top coat with it. I still think probably a UV resin or your something like your 2-hour cure, the Apex one coat, something like that. I think you're going to get a better finish with, but you can, yes. You can pour it deeper than the recommended. It will heat up really fast, cure faster than it should, and therefore trap the bubbles in it. But you can. It doesn't explode or anything. As you can see, I went to twice the recommended depth there. And yes, you can layer it. And as you can see that top layer? There's less bubbles in it, it's clearer. And that is because it was at a normal pouring depth for that stuff. I've got a bit of a bubble effect around the edges and a bit of a anime bloom, I suppose you'd call it, if it was epoxy. But again, I was doing a lot of messing here, so I'm not surprised. Right, there you go. Got some verdicts for you. Layering, yes. Top coating, yes. Yes, you can pour it deeper than you might normally pour. I hope that's helpful, basically. Now, the final test that I've been asked to do is carry on with the ultraviolet, you know, how ultraviolet resistant it is, and also chuck it outside in the snow, that sort of thing. Now obviously that's going to take a little bit of a while for me to get back to you with the results on that one, so I will get back to you as soon as I can. In the meantime, if there's anything else you would like me to test with this clear polyurethane resin, then just let me know and I'll keep giving it a go. I'm nearly run out though, so it will be a couple of weeks before I can afford any more of that stuff. So bear with me, but I will get them done for you so you can see how it goes. And then of course in the new year, hopefully Just For You Online will have their stuff out for us instead, so we can order that and I can get hold of that a lot more easily and in bigger quantities and so on. And then we can go crazy, and they do ship all over the world, though obviously they can't control the postage costs. That's just one of those things. But if you're really stuck and really wanted some, then of course they can ship out there. Right, if you found this useful, give us a thumbs up then folks, I'd really appreciate that. And you know what the subscribe buttons and things are. And don't forget, I do put links for everything that I use in the videos down below in the description. So if you do have a good look down there, if you want to know where to get anything from or how much anything costs, the links so you can find all that are down below. Just drop the bit where it says more below the description and it will drop down a whole load of useful information for you. See you soon then folks. Bye.